Hi there. Welcome to another edition of the Wayrider Chronicles, the alternative conversation channel. My name is Kim.
Hi there. Today we're going to talk about Africa again. There we go. There has been some news about Senegal, which is in West Africa. The current president, instead of holding elections, had decided to try and extend his term, and this didn't go down well. Senegal normally has been perceived as a relatively peaceful country and fairly well managed. This is a discussion not so much about Senegal and West Africa, but about why or how various people in power in Africa cling to power and the problems that causes. Clinging on to power is not an exclusive African issue, as we all know. There is a tendency worldwide for older men to cling to power. If we're not careful, if Trump gets elected in November, technically he can only serve one more term because he's already served one term. I would not be surprised if he does get elected that he will push to get re-elected a third time. Constitutionally he can't, but hey, you never know. This is not about Trump. This is about older men clinging on to power. It has been a problem in many African countries. Why is it that elderly men feel that they cannot relinquish power? 1789 was sort of the end of a major old man clinging on to power issue, the divine right of kings. The divine right of kings was the God-given right of a ruling family to continue on ruling in perpetuity. The French Revolution of 1789 overthrew that concept, but it still lingers on in a parallel sense, if you wish, that elderly men like to carry on way past their sell-by dates, holding on to power. We have one coming up for re-election in inverted commas, in Russia very soon. He's managed to extend his hold on power constitutionally by changing the constitution of Russia, and he will never go away. He's not going to relinquish power until he's gone, until he dies, one way or another. This is a pattern that, if you look at it, we have seen in China. Say what you want, but Xi is building a dynasty. It's not going very well at the moment, but he is building a legacy for him to cling on to power until he also is carted off to the great whatever in the sky. So it's hardly surprising that a country or a continent like Africa, which has its own traditions of being ruled by a father figure traditionally society has meant that the eldest, the most venerated person becomes the chief or the head of whichever demographic unit they happen to be living in. Democracy imposed, or the post-colonial democracy plonked on Africa that a strong figurehead would become democratically elected post-colonial independence, but in very few cases would he relinquish power to a successor. You can count South Africa, to give its due, in spite of the manifest problems they have with corruption around the ruling party, the African National Congress, ANC, to give it its due, has changed constitutionally, changed presidents since independence. There has not been an occasion where a president has been elected and he's clung on to power by basically forcing through constitutional changes that a large number of African countries have done. Just look at the chaos in Zaire, or Congo as it used to be called. Just look at not farther north, where I went and did most of my schooling, in Zimbabwe. There's been 2 presidents, but the second one is virtually a clone of the first one, so it doesn't really make any difference. But the point I'm making here is that this is not something that's unusual. If we look back through European history, without going further back than that, we don't want to get into Roman history, it was and pre-European history, there has always been a tendency for older men to cling to power indefinitely. We see that in business. Just look at the success of the TV series Succession. It's all about same thing, an old man clinging on to power. And surprise, surprise, how did power change take place? He died. The interesting thing to note is that this is not a uniquely African problem. And although a lot of commentators will say, oh, Africa has got these problems, we'll take the example of Senegal, where a president has tried to cling on to power and cause chaos. But it's not unique to Africa. It's a problem it's an issue, it's a problem, yeah, of course, but let's call it an issue that is a worldwide issue. That, for whatever reason, well, we know what they are, egoism, the accumulation of power, which usually means that they've accumulated sufficient resources, i.e. money, to be able to pay off everybody to stay in power, or to make sure that they know which lever to pull that will ensure that they have enough money to stay in power. It's a worldwide issue. Will it change? We don't know. It's something that is a puzzle for me, that elderly men find it extremely difficult to release or let go of their not only their status but power, because they will not accept that it's time to move on. How is this going to change? We don't know. This is the Wayrider Chronicles. My name is Kim. See you guys.